You see, I have this little problem with my apartment. I live in the West 60s, just half a block from Central Park. My rent is $85 a month. It used to be $80 until last July when Mrs. Lieberman, the landlady, put in a second-hand air conditioning unit. It's a real nice apartment. It's nothing fancy, but kind of cozy. Just right for a bachelor. The only problem is I can't always get in when I want to.
Hi, welcome to the Bench Movie Club. My name's Charlie.
My name's Ben.
And in this episode, continuing our rom-com themes for this month, I've picked The Apartment from 1960, directed by Billy Wilder, who directed Double Indemnity, Sunset Boulevard, Witness for the Prosecution, and Some Like It Hot, which he'd done the year before this. It stars Jack Lemmon, who's known from Glengarry Glen Ross, Grumpy Old Men, The Odd Couple, who plays an accountant in a building who lets out his apartment to various people to help him get promoted. And you've got Shirley MacLaine, who he is enamoured with. He wants to ask out. She's the lift operator. She's also in Terms of Endearment, Still Magnolias, and Trouble with Harry.
Sweet Charity.
Charity, I don't know.
That's a big Fosse one. A lot of people that Fosse was quite a big thing.
Dancer.
For dancing, yeah.
And also Fred MacMurray, who plays his boss, who's also having an affair with Shirley MacLaine's character. He's also in Double Indemnity, The Absent-Minded Professor, and a TV series which was popular in America, My Three Sons, which ran for about 12 years. Okay, so was this the first time you'd seen this film?
First time I've seen it, yeah.
Okay, so
I've seen. I know Jack Lemmon.
I knew you knew Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot was I've seen that loads of times, and that was the year before this, and it's by the same bloke. Yeah, it's a very good film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love an old black and white film though. I do like that kind of like old, sort of taking you back to a better time kind of thing. You know, I know it sounds like old man sort of thing, but it is. It was a nicer. People just had more respect then. People dressed better. People took more care in themselves.
Yeah.
You know, even like, as I say, like poor people looked better.
Yeah.
You know, everyone actually made the effort. Everyone had a little bit of, a little bit of pride in themselves.
This was Stephen Merchant's favourite film.
Stephen Merchant, is he out of
The Office? Yeah,
right,
tall guy.
Yeah.
But this actually won, I think it won the Academy Award for Best Film, Best Director, Best Screenplay for Billy Wilder, and it was the last black and white film to win the award for Best Film up until The Artist in 2011.
Yeah.
Although Schindler's List won Best Film, but that does have a red coat in it when the little girl's got the red coat. What I really like about this film, I like the feel of the film, the nature. It's a comedy, but it's also there's dramatic moments in it. There's some parts like with her suicide attempt.
Yeah.
You know, and he talks about his own suicide attempt going wrong, shooting himself in the leg.
Yeah.
And right at the end of the film, when she runs up the stairs and you hear the champagne cork.
Yeah.
I watched this with Mum and Lily. Obviously, I already knew what was going to happen. And when that happened...
I thought he killed himself.
They both went...
It's a sad ending if he has.
Yeah, both Mum and Lily gasped, but, no!
Yeah.
So,
really that dramatic, was it?
Yeah, that was it. And I thought, it's obviously the champagne. It's Jack Lemmon. He's not going to kill himself. And she's banging on the door and he opens it. And the characters, even the boss, even though the boss is an arse, you know, and he's clearly using her for his affairs and stuff.
Like he has previously with other girls, it sort of comes out that this is like a regular thing for him, and he will move on to someone new. Yeah,
but there's no one it's no like pantomime villains. There's no one sort of out and out nasty. But there's so many great moments in this, which I think, like when he realises that she's having an affair with him, when he looks at the broken mirror.
Yeah.
You know, such little clever ways of sort of pushing the story forward without having to ram it home, without someone going, it was him and she was seeing, you know, things you think I realised the same time. Like he realises the moment that he realises what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, with her sort of waking up in his apartment and her sort of realising that the arrangement that he's got with his boss.
Yeah. And did you know this is also Jack Lemmon's first leading role? Which I thought, can it be his leading role? Because I would have thought Some Like It Hot, which is the year before, would have classed as a leading role.
Or maybe where it's part of joint leading, because in that it's him, Marilyn Monroe, and Tony Curtis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas
I would have thought maybe the leading role in that would have been him and Tony Curtis.
Yeah.
And then Marilyn Monroe would have been the extra on it.
Yeah, but even still, I think this counts more because he's the
Based on him.
He's the predominant factor in it. You know,
that's probably what it meant then.
Even though Shirley MacLaine is really good in this, I like her as the...
Yeah, I've never seen her in anything when she was young. I've only ever known her as an old lady. Like, I've seen her in things like Still Magnolias, Terms of Endearment, and things from that moment onwards, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I never knew her as a young woman, so it's quite interesting to actually see her as a young girl.
Yeah, and I like her character.
I do. I thought she was really good.
You don't...
'Cause I've always looked and thought, oh, well, what's the fascination with Shirley MacLaine? But she's actually quite... There's something about her when she was younger.
Yeah, she's quite pretty, sort of waif type thing. And you don't feel angry at her for being duped by Fred MacMurray's character, because you think there's so many women get duped into that, thinking this big powerful man who's, you know, promises the world and says he's going to leave his wife, and she's out like having their meals at what Mum reckons is Trader Vic's in America, in that little Tahiti restaurant. Yeah, you know, and Jack Lemmon plays so well that sort of good-natured, sort of soppy guy.
He's a good character and he's a good person.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Billy Wilder got this idea after seeing the film Brief Encounter. Yeah. From the actual bit where, in Brief Encounter, when he takes her to his friend's apartment, that it's similar. He was like, he focused on, like, that apartment, that idea gave him the idea from this film, which I thought, that's mad. Because I love Brief Encounter, you know, we actually done a podcast of it a few weeks back. For him to sort of, I like it when a film, you don't realise how many films inspire other films that you wouldn't thought they'd do, and it's like a lot of them probably won't even realise they've inspired other films. But I like that. I like the fact that someone has seen something in this and thought, oh, that'd be an interesting way to look at it. I
wonder that person's backstory.
What that story is. The person that lets the room out to sort of all these people and all their mates.
Well, I'd seen The Apartment about 10 years ago, and it was only when we done the Brief Encounter podcast and doing research and said that about Brief Encounter inspiring Billy Wilder to do The Apartment. I suddenly thought, I forgot about The Apartment. You mentioned it,
I think, on the podcast, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I think it did ring a bell when I read that.
And I like there's a very good way he shoots. Know the office scene. Yes. So you've got all the desks. Yes. You know how they shot that? So what they'd done, they had normal sized desks at the front, full size actors. Right. If you look further back, they've actually got children playing dressed up as adults with smaller desks. Okay. And then further back still, they've got tiny little desks with little
chimpanzees.
No, like marionette puppets, little puppets. What? But me even knowing, I found that out after I'd seen it the first time. Watching it this time around, I thought I'd be distracting. You don't know. You think they're so well made how they do it.
That's really clever. Because
what they do,
to have that brain to think of that.
Yeah, because what happens, it makes that office look so big, so deep.
Looks,
you think those desks in the background look so small.
How big is that area?
Actually smaller desks, and children look dressed to look like adults, and you
like
can't.
Bugsy Malone sort of type.
Yeah,
children,
but I was looking. I was thinking, I know the ones in the far background are puppets, but how subtly they're moving is so well made.
So it's like the Muppet Show at the kind
of... you see the frog, like
Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's good. Oh, and the scene where Carl punches Baxter was supposed to be like mine, but where he didn't move in time, he actually punched him in real life, and he kept it in the scene because it looked so good.
Which is good. I didn't know that until after even most recently I watched it. But I thought, it did look quite realistic how he hit him.
Yeah. Also, at a party in Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe told Billy Wilder that she wished she could have played the part of Fran Kubelik because she absolutely loved it, and I think she would have actually done quite a good job of it because she'd have been believable as the one that they was all trying to get hold of from the lift. Yeah. Because she was like Marilyn Monroe.
But the only problem with that is I'd have thought she'd be too stunning in a way. That'd be like, no one wants to get out the lift. You know, sort of like, oh, she'd have to really play down her
But she
appearance.
plays comedy really well, and I think a lot of people forgot about didn't realise with Marilyn Monroe, I've seen her with Some Like It Hot, she's very good with comedy. And it's where she was always the sex appeal, but the thing is, she was very, very quick with her timings. Yeah. You know, so I think she could have done a really good job with this as well. It would have been interesting to see. It would have been quite nice to see what she would have been like. But yeah, no, I think Shirley MacLaine does a fantastic job in it. And it was really interesting to see Shirley MacLaine as a youngster. It's really strange.
Yeah. And for years after this, people would ask Jack Lemmon for the key. They go up to him and say, knowing that
he comes across really nice. I think he comes. I've always felt that he would be quite approachable.
Yeah.
That, you know, like whenever if you see him out, if you went to say, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" He'd be, it'd be like not like.
It seems like this is why there's a film that he done early '90s called Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic ensemble. It's just about people selling these apartments. It's got him, Al Pacino, Alec Baldwin, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Jonathan Pryce. It's got all this fantastic cast, but his character in it as this salesman is sort of because of how nice you know of him.
Yeah.
You know, it works out. It shows what a good actor he is. Yeah. But I really like him as this sort of like friendly sort of. He wants to help everyone. This is what
you imagine him to be like. He's similar character to what he is in Some Like It Hot.
Right.
He's just like a nice fella. You haven't seen Some Like It Hot? That is a really good film.
I've seen certain. I know exactly.
You know the storyline.
I know the last scene. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think they parody that in Mad Monster Party.
They've parodied it.
At the very end of Mad Monster Party, he goes, when she goes, I was created, Felix. He goes, well, nobody's perfect.
Oh, is he really?
And they're on the boat together. Don't you remember?
Okay, so that's probably sort of a little nod at this, Something Like It Up then.
Yeah.
Carrying on from that, the film's classic last line was thought up by the writers at the last minute on set. You know, shut up and deal. So
yeah, and she was doing the reason the Jim Running thing was put into it because Shirley MacLaine was hanging out with the Rat Pack at the time.
Yeah.
So like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. and they was teaching her how to play Jim Running. So she sort of suggested, why don't we have that for this scene?
Yeah.
And it's just like a nice little distraction. And
she said as well they added bits as the filming would go along. They would add scenes all the time. Like there was like improvisation scenes as well, and there was other bits that they suddenly go, well, listen, we're going to put this in it as well, where they sort of see her with the cards. I think that's one thing when they see that she could play cards.
But it did drive Billy Wilder mad apparently because she used to ad lib quite a lot.
Oh, right.
Out of all of because he used to have the script and think, okay, well, this is how you do the scene, and the only person he really was comfortable with going off was Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Because he put him akin to Charlie Chaplin. He said like anything he does is genius.
Yeah.
You know, so he had this scene with the nasal spray.
Yeah.
You know, so apparently put like with the nasal. Jack Lemmon was in the dressing room and he noticed the nasal spray. If he squeezed it hard, it shoots up.
Yeah.
So he put milk in there so it could be seen on black and white. And he didn't tell him he was going to do it, and then he had the pit and he squeezed it up in the air and it shot up. And Billy Wilder thought fantastic, and he kept it in the film.
No, it's really good. No, I really enjoyed the film. It was I don't know what I was expecting, but it was it's basically about cheating, isn't it? Really, and getting ahead in business, and then sort of finding someone and falling in love and doing damaged people all over again.
I like the way he sort of at the very end when the boss is saying, listen, you want to go far in this company, don't you? I thought you were smart. Just give me the key.
Yeah.
And he hands him a key.
Yeah.
And you think, he's giving him the key.
Yeah.
He's, if only... And then he says, this is the washroom.
Yeah, he just gives it all up. It's like, okay, I don't want to be part of this.
Which is good. I think that's a good moral lesson. Morally, because they say, you know...
He hasn't sold himself out.
It's important to work for a living. It's important to have a job. But it's not the most important thing. It's good sometimes to do what you know is morally right.
Yeah.
I like that. No, this is also one of those films that technically is a Christmas film. It's classed as a Christmas film because it happens at Christmas time.
Okay.
But I forgot about it when we was doing our top 10 Christmas list.
Would it be classed as Christmas? Of course it is, because it's the day after Christmas Day, and they go back to work on Boxing Day, though, don't they?
They do that in America.
Do they?
Yeah, but there is no Boxing Day in America.
What is Boxing Day then?
It's a British tradition, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I didn't realise.
But the Christmas party that's in it, when he's got the Christmas party and then people kissing and he's sort of like really excited and he takes her to the room. I think that's the time he says that was an actual. They actually done that like a Christmas party because it was shot on December 23rd in 1959.
So they actually had a Christmas party then.
And the Billy Wilder said, I wish that it was always that easy just to say action. He said, we just threw a party. We just done a Christmas party, so it was only really them two who was having to act, and the rest of them was just enjoying himself. And it was pretty much all one take, apart from a couple of close-ups. He shot that all in one take because everyone just thought they were just having such a good time. Let's shoot it, which sort of again leads it sort of being quite authentic.
Yeah, I don't recognise any of the other cast apart from Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah. Well, Mummy recognised Fred MacMurray. She said...
Is that the boss?
Yeah. I don't know if she said he was in, like, Beverly Hillbillies or something like that. But she
She
said, I know
recognised him
him.
from stuff, yeah. She'd know more than us, wouldn't she?
Yeah, me and him were like that. Like, she's met him at some point.
I really enjoyed it though.
There's
a really good film.
There's an interesting little anecdote about this in the Eastern Bloc. So during communism, and like you had Germany, West Germany, East Germany, it was lauded by the Soviet bloc. They were saying it was an indictment of democracy. They were saying this is exactly everything that's wrong with democracy. He's renting out his apartment to climb up the ladder. They should be socialist. They should be communist like that. So everyone's equal. And they threw a special party for Billy Wilder in East Berlin, during which he said, well, because they said it could only happen in New York. This it's debauchery. And Billy Wilder said, well, actually, it could happen in Hong Kong, Tokyo, Paris, London, and just not in Moscow. And they all started cheering. Yeah, he's on board with us. And once they finally finished cheering, he went, because nobody in Moscow has his own apartment.
Yeah.
And they all went deadly silent because they realised he just slagged off their ideals, which would have been very uncomfortable to be in there. But
of course,
Paul Douglas was originally cast as the boss, but what happened was on the morning he was going to fly out to shoot the film. He was having breakfast, he had a heart attack and died.
Oh.
Yeah, and you think that's what?
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So that Fred MacMurray was more of a last-minute addition. But he does play the part role as a boss. Yeah. He reminds me, funny enough, when I watched Bridesmaids, I was thinking a little bit about like John Hamm. You know, they're sort of interchangeable in a way. They could have easily played each other's part.
Yeah, so how did you come across this film then?
I know you're always surprised, but I do like watching old films. And I'd heard good things about The Apartment, and I think as I said, it was about 10 years ago. I think I was reading a film magazine, and it was talking about Christmas films, and it mentioned The Apartment, Billy Wilder, and I thought, okay, I like Jack Lemmon, and I've heard good things. I loved Witness for the Prosecution, which was a Billy Wilder film, and I thought, okay, I'll check this out then. And I watched it, and I remember just thinking, it gave me a good feeling. I thought, it's a nice film. Yeah. It's not trying to be too overdramatic. Yeah. It's very of the time, like even when he goes to the theatre, which is The Music Man, I think he said, I got tickets for The Music Man. At the time, that was the in thing. That was like if they'd done it now, he goes, I got 2 tickets for like Hamilton or something like that. It was very sort of the moment, and I like films which perfectly capture that moment in time. The hustle and bustle of New York, of them all sitting in the office, and the workplace politics of people trying to get one-upmanship above each other. Yeah. I also really liked his neighbours as well. I liked his doctor more this time than the first time, because I thought because obviously they felt as if
it was a knocking shop. Yeah,
they thought, oh, he's a ladies' man with all these women. But the doctor's actually really nice, especially in America where the doctor will foot you with a bill. Yeah. For the doctor to stay up all night, walking her up and down, slapping her around the face, which those slaps were real.
I thought that's a bit weird as well.
Yeah, because during the overdose scene, they actually had doctors present to advise on the accuracy of what the doctor was doing. And if anything, they said afterwards, well, really, we would have hit her harder than that. And Billy Wilder said, no, we're not shooting it again. He's hit her hard enough. Because I remember when he was doing that, Mum was laughing. Yeah. She's got a sixth sense of humour. She's thinking, isn't that funny?
It's a long film as well. They actually made quite long films years ago, didn't they? I thought they were shorter years ago, but they actually made... It was like 2 hours and all that kind of... Wasn't it over 2 hours, I think?
I think so, but I didn't really sort of...
you get engrossed in it anyway, but I think a lot of the old black and white films was quite long. Yeah. They actually made a film back then. It was like more of an experience, so you'd actually... you enjoyed it for its... for what it was.
Talking about the Doctor as well, the studio wanted Groucho Marx to play the Doctor.
Okay.
But Groucho Marx was like a big comedic, like very sort of full-on comedic actor, very distinctive, and Billy Wilder was said against it. It's too comical. I want someone like a little bit more serious, and it's also a bit distracting. It's like I watched this back to back with Breakfast at Tiffany's, and you got Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's playing a Chinese man,
right,
in a role which loads of people have really sort of laid into, saying like cultural appropriation. He's putting on an accent and stuff like that, and he's added the neighbour as comedic effect. But it's very limited. It's only for that time period. While that person's relevant, is it relevant? But it's years later, you'd think, who's this person? He's distracting. I don't want him to distract. So I think Billy Wilder made the right decision. Not Groucho Marx is a very funny person, but I think he made the right decision not putting him in it.
Yeah. And Billy Wilder had a little dig at Marilyn Monroe in it with the actress because he'd worked with her the year before with Some Like It Hot, and because of her demands and her lateness and stuff like that, which didn't realise that she was going through, I think, a miscarriage and all that at the time, and there was lots of other stuff going on in her life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old was she when she done Some Like It Hot then?
About 34, 35.
So she's about mid-30s then, yeah?
She died when she was 36, and she died in 62, and that was 59, so she's about 33.
So she died shortly after this anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, it was like, he sort of was a bit pissed off with her because not knowing what the full story was. So he made that character who's like right bimbo-y, and he goes, yeah, I've got someone, she's like Marilyn Monroe, and she's like, oh, hello. It's like, you think, it's like a proper piss take of like
really sort of
bimboing
like
her up.
Little jab at her.
And it's a bit, what's name, because Jack Lemmon actually got on really well with Marilyn Monroe. Tony Curtis, legend, like famously didn't like her. Because of, and later on he changed his mind when he sort of, I think, realised exactly how big she was and sort of like it's not
what she was going through.
Yeah, and also what she was going through. You know, you don't realise, do you, at the time? And then when you look back, and it's quite a tragic story with Marilyn Monroe. You know, like but that was like a little dig he had at her. But then then she's obviously they must have been friends after that, because when she saw him at the party after seeing the film, she said, I would love to have played that role.
Yeah, it's probably just one of those things, like a little. I don't think it was vindictive. It was just like a little bit of like banter between people. You know, I think out of Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon, even from the brief time, even as a kid, seeing them, like I walked through the living room, you're watching Some Like It Hot, and you got the two of them dressed up in drag.
Yeah.
Straight away, I thought, he looks like the more easygoing. He looks like the more approachable one.
Oh, he's brilliant.
So even now, I'd think if you were stuck in a room, if you had to sort of be stuck in a room with one of them, you'd probably prefer Jack Lemmon over Tony Curtis, because he
was the comedy element in it.
He's more easygoing as well. You know, in this, I counted his martinis. He drank 13 martinis before, because he's laying up the olives, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you can actually count how many drinks he had before he goes back to the apartment with that girl, and finds her on the bed.
Yeah.
Which again, I think is it's great how they tackled that scene, because obviously suicide's a big deal.
Yeah.
And for other comedies, it would be like, well, that just kills the film totally. Yeah. But having him turn up the one time he actually brings a girl home.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, he's like, no, it's the other one. It's one who's in there.
And he's going, oh, here he goes again. Like, so he's got, like, someone was trying to kill himself over him, and it ain't about him.
Yeah. And another interesting thing about his apartment, he's got 2 authentic Tiffany lamps in there, which at the time wasn't worth that much. You know, he's playing this part of a poor accountant, so there's no reason for him not to have them. But valued now, they're worth about 30 to 40 grand.
Really?
Yeah. So you think, is that crazy? Like, if you'd known that at the time, you think, right, keep hold of them. Can I take things from the set? I'd take home those Tiffany lamps.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're so expensive now. I suppose those made probably such a better quality probably back then.
And the year before Breakfast at Tiffany's, when she starts bagging on about it.
Yeah.
And really heightened its profile.
I can't remember that film, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
It's not worth remembering. Really? I'm not a huge fan of it. No. I prefer that song they sang about it in the 90s.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed this film, and I think it's a great vehicle for Jack Lemmon.
Of course it is, yeah.
And it just, everything about it, I think it's well paced. I like the acting in it. And Shirley MacLaine, I think the first time round I see it, I didn't really pay attention to her. This time round, I think, actually, no, she makes a likeable character, because it's hard sometimes for someone to play that character, to play the person who's sort of, you think, it's again going back to Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I watched back to back with this, I couldn't stand her Go Lightly, or whatever her name is,
her
as a person is fine and other roles is fine, but her character in Breakfast at Tiffany's, I thought that's everything that's wrong with modern people.
Yeah.
You know, like very selfish, like take people for it, whatever they've got to offer you and then kick them to the curb.
Yeah.
Whereas Shirley MacLaine in this, you think she's actually the really sort of approachable. Nice. She knows everyone's name. She recognises her own faults. She's not great at spelling. you know, and she literally just sort of like, she thinks that this boss
nice
genuinely
person.
loves her.
Yeah.
And I love the way how at the end she realises,
Yeah.
you know, that Jack Lemmon is the one she should be with.
Yeah. It's nice. It's another nice ending.
Yeah.
IMDb, it's got 8.3 out of 10, so that's good.
That's very good, yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, it got 94% from the critics and 94% from the audience.
That's really good.
So that's a really good score. The budget was $3 million, and it made $24.6 million.
So 20 million return at least. So that's fantastic. I know it was,
and that's a lot if you think 1960. 20 million in 1960.
But it's mad to think that a film like that, which well received by critics and audience, won awards, done well at the box office, but loads of people would not know of it. I
think of our generation maybe wouldn't know of it. I think maybe from an older generation probably would know of it.
Yeah, but even I had heard of Some Like It Hot. There's certain old films.
Certain films do carry through.
Yeah, certain films I've heard of. This one, The Apartment. I mean, the name is rather forgettable, but it makes sense. It's a fine name for what the film's about. But it's almost like maybe if it had a different name, something that would carry it over the generations, people could refer to it, because it's not like one of those things you go like for example, say if you go, well, what do you want? Do you want the chocolate eclair? Do you want this? And someone goes, oh, it's right, Sophie's Choice, isn't it? It's a reference to a film because it's so distinctive, you know. Whereas this, it goes, oh, it's just like The Apartment. They go, what apartment? What are you talking about? So I think the name almost sort of undersells it.
I think that you can find it with a lot of films, though. A lot of films from old times, but yeah, there is certain ones that do carry through, but it's just hitting the audience at that time, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, so that's the.
Wasn't it remade as well? They usually do remakes. I bet it has probably been remade at least once, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested.
I don't even like any remakes. I always think, well, I'd rather watch the original. The only remake I think I would like better is Cape Fear, because Cape Fear was a remake of an old black and white.
Yeah.
But the new Cape Fear was really good. That's the one I remember. But then again, I haven't seen the old Cape Fear.
You say new Cape Fear, it's 30 years old now. But I've seen
the pictures.
I've seen the original Cape Fear. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I agree, Martin Scorsese's one is better.
Yeah.
I've seen the original.
It's rare that happens, but it does.
I've seen the original Scarface. The Al Pacino one's better.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, same with Hairspray. I remember seeing the Hairspray with Ricky Lake in it. And seeing the Hairspray with like Michelle Pfeiffer and John Travolta and all that, and that's so much better because it's a musical. It's a lighter version of it.
The Fly, the 80s one is so much better than the old.
I didn't know the remade. Oh, the old Fly.
It was an old B movie where he's got a big fly head on him. But the 80s one is so much sadder. In fact, if we hadn't done specified romantic comedies, if we just said romantic films, I would have even crowbarred the fly in there. It is a romantic film. It's a tragic. It's a tragedy. It's like
that's how it's Leaving Las Vegas could be as a rom-com.
Yeah,
that's not
rom-com. That's what I'm saying. It's not a comedy. I'm saying if we'd got rid of the comedy element, if we'd focused purely on romance, you could have said Leaving Las Vegas would definitely be up there because it's a romance between people.
It's a sad romance.
Well, maybe we should do like a romantic tragedy.
Fun.
Romantic tragedies.
People saying from
love story.
Most depressing films.
Love one. The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is so much better than the old 50s for me. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 70s one is better. So there are examples, but it's so few and far between. I would rather outlaw remakes. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
The thing is, I'll let it all go through because sometimes there is a good one, as you say, with Cape Fear, with Fly and all that. But you know
it's
what?
Rubbish. People forget
just watch it, take it for what it is, and then either like it or don't like it. You know, it's out there. If it's worth it, it will last. If it ain't, it won't. As I say, like look at the remakes of Carrie and all that.
And RoboCop,
all that. They're not going to be relevant in 20, 30 years.
Annie.
Yeah, Annie. They're not going to be relevant in 20, 30 years, but then they'll look back at the original ones, like the original Annie with Tim Curry and all that, and the original sort of Carrie with Sissy Spacek and all that. They will still be here. The remakes won't be anywhere.
You know what they're remaking?
Oh, what now?
Wizard of Oz.
Why?
They're sick of trying to do parodies and sequels.
I bet they're not going to do. They're not going to have the Munchkins, are they? They're going to say that they're going to. Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I ain't watching it, and I ain't going to go there. No, but it won't last.
I think all that happens though, like some people say, positive way to look at it. What happens when these remakes? People watch it, they go, it's not as good as the original. let's rewatch the original.
Yeah.
So you look at it positively, think it's just going to heighten the profile of
Yeah,
the
that's
original
true.
again. So,
That's true.
you know, like when I watched Carrie in the cinema, I thought that was rubbish. I went home and I watched the original.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, that's better. Cleanse my
Yeah.
palate. Watch the
Yeah.
proper version.
The proper version is
Yeah.
It's miles away from
Yeah.
what
Unless-
the remakes.
Unless you're bringing something like the Scott.
If it's perfect, why mess around with it?
I find that sometimes with films, if there's films which I know have an emotional punch, it's like The Apartment. The first time I watched it, I didn't cry.
Yeah.
When I watched it the other day with Mum and Lily, and it had that ending where they think he thinks he's killed himself,
Yeah.
and it's a happy ending, I started crying.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, why am I crying? I'm just so happy for him
Yeah.
and her getting
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time round, I didn't think they was going to get together.
No.
I thought it'd be one of those bitter enemies.
Just ends on something.
But the fact that, so I think it'd be one of those films that if you watched it again, The
Yeah.
Apartment, in a few years' time, I reckon when you get to
I've
the
done
end of
that
it,
before. I've watched something. I've gone, oh, yeah, it's really good. But then I've watched it the second time, and I've made me cry my eyes out. And it's
builds,
like,
you know what? Another one. Next time you watch It's a Wonderful Life, it'll get you even more.
I was sobbing.
I can't even. Every time I watch that film, I cried more and more and more.
I don't talk about it now, Joe, because you're going to start crying.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that was The Apartment.
Right, okay.
So what is your pick? We're still sticking romantic comedies.
Right, okay. Well, I'm going to pick for next week my pick will be Notting Hill.
Right. Okay.
Which is Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts.
And I still haven't seen, so good.
Yeah,
I'll watch
film.
that.
So that's a good film to watch. It's worth seeing. Notting Hill.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things.
It's a nice rom-com. It's got a nice feel to it. What I like about this one, as opposed to a lot of the other rom-coms, is the fact of it being a celebrity with a normal person and how that would work. Because it does, as you say, they're all human beings. We're all human, and it sort of shows the dynamics of how that would be to date a famous person. I love it.
Was there
Really
a
good
big
film.
song attached to that?
Yes. Was it You Fear? Or is it no? It ain't Love Is All Around, because that was For Weddings.
For Weddings. No, because
It is another one. Yeah, there is a big song.
I can't remember, but there was some.
I think is it Boyzone or Westlife right at the end?
Maybe, but there was, for some reason, I avoided that film. And I really liked Four Weddings. So then Notting Hill came out, and they was going like, oh yeah, it's like for the makers of Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. And for some reason, I don't know if it was the song associated to it, but something about it, I thought, I ain't wasting my time giving my time to that. Looks like a pile of poo, despite the fact that I loved Four Weddings so much.
Yeah, it's when you say nothing at all.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a fan of Westlife and Ronan Keating.
But there's quite
yeah.
But there's a couple of good ones in it. There's How Can You Mend a Broken Heart is a good.
I love that. So
and
Al
also
Green,
She by Elvis Costello.
Yes. See, them two songs I absolutely love. They're I'm a big fan of Al Green, big fan of Elvis Costello, and both of them songs are two. Of
You
my
like
favourite
this
songs
film.
of them.
You will like this film.
Yeah.
If you like, it's an easy watch, comedy elements. It's just a nice rom-com.
Do you remember George loved Ronan Keating?
Did he?
Yeah. I just suddenly came back to me.
I can't remember him playing any of his stuff.
When you say nothing at all, he loved
Life is a roller coaster.
No, Life is a roller coaster. Yeah, but whenever there's a video of him at one of our family parties, and he's jumping. I love this song, and he's like jumping up and down. He really, genuinely loved a Ronan Keating song.
I can't remember.
And I remember I used to take the pay out of him for it. And I hope all his friends from work hear this. So, I'm a big Ronan Keating fan, are you, George?
They're already saying about it. They reckon he's had a hair transplant. Because they're all going, he goes, what the fuck, you know, they all go, because George has always had his shaved head.
Shaved head, yeah.
He's got thick hair, George, but he's always had a shaved head. All of a sudden, he's let his hair grow a couple of inches, and they're all going, he's had a hair transplant. He's going, everyone's fucking saying I've got an hair transplant. Look, and he's going, look, you can tell I ain't got an hair transplant, but they're all looking going...
it looks good, doesn't it?
Because his hair's really dark as well. What is he, 44?
Yeah.
Like, I was fair.
Yeah.
Fair
Oh,
than
he looks
George.
the youngest.
And I looked. My hair started going grey a lot sooner than his. And his hair, for his age, he's really dark. He's got the odd little greys, but he's mainly dark haired.
And I genuinely went bald in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
So,
But at least you shave it all off. You
I
don't
won't
just
shave it
sit
off.
there,
I think
don't
if
sit
you
there with
lose
a
your
comb over.
as soon as you start losing your hair, shave it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
enough slagging off George. Right. So yeah, Notting Hill next week.
All right then, lovely. All right then, see you next week. See you later. Bye bye.
Shut up and deal.